Okay, so welcome everybody. So today is the first ever podcast of the Bay HQ with a live audience. We're at the Kensington Olympia at the British and International Franchise Exhibition. It's a long name to remember, and I got it right, and Chicken's cheering in the background there. And today I've got with me Asad Hamir, who was a franchisee when he was younger and built up O2 franchisee to several stores and did very well, was a star franchisee. And now he's going to the other side of the table and becoming a franchisor. So, Asad, can you tell us what made you get into franchising in the first place?
Yeah, so a bit of my story. I'm actually a qualified optometrist by trade. So I did optometry at university. My dad was an IT engineer, so I always had tech around the house. And so as much as I love glasses, and you always see me in different types of glasses. In my third year at university, Steve Jobs got up on stage and said, "Here's iPhone." And at that point, I was like, look, I'm going to leave the optometry industry. And I went into telecom. So I was 22 years old. At that point, I had no business experience. No one in the family really had any real business experience of scaling a business and things like that. And I saw franchising as a way that I could actually get into the business arena, learn, see the operations, all that kind of stuff is figured out. There was an amazing brand that had the exclusivity on the iPhone at the time, which was O2 back in the day, if everyone remembers. And jumped at the opportunity. I still remember going to my interview, hadn't slept the night before. I wrote a 100-page business plan, slammed it on the table, and the lady was like, "Oh my God." And it was great. Going into that with no experience of going through that, not even to be honest, having had many interviews. I guess growing up, I always had a business acumen, always had an entrepreneurial acumen. So I used to buy and sell things. Make websites, sell computers, all kinds of stuff. But I knew this product I could sell. I knew that the iPhone was going to be massive. I was following all the blogs and all that kind of stuff. So for me, it was like, look, I can learn how to become a business person through franchising. And opened our first store. It was in Tottenham Hale, northwest London. And then I guess on that journey, that kind of kickstarted it. I'm still a franchisee of O2 as well. And I grew that to about 16, 17 stores over the years, but amazing journey. I'd highly recommend anyone that's starting out, and wants to learn the ropes. I mean, the beauty of a franchise business like O2, they have a tried and tested model. They had a tried and tested operations manual. You can go in day one. They can show you exactly how to run your business, how to trade successfully. Ultimately, it's still down to you as the entrepreneur to really drive it. But yeah, that's how I started.
Yeah, so one thing as well, in the last 10 minutes or so, we're going to be taking questions from the audience. So have a think about questions as well. And it'll be in the podcast recording as well. So you can go and see yourself and hear yourself in the podcast too. But looking at that journey at O2, when you initially started out, obviously you didn't know anything, right? How did you get going, and what were the mistakes you made right at the beginning that you think made you a better franchisee later on?
Still remember, I didn't know about VAT. So I remember my first tax return. I'd spent all my money on the shop fit. And it came to my VAT return, and I had to pay money for VAT and run out of money. So that's how bad I was at that point. You get in and look, day one, you think that, they've got the brand and stuff's going to come through the door and it's all going to be fine. It's going to be amazing. You've got this amazing financial model, which shows you how much profit and loss you're going to make over the next 2 years. And you open, I still remember the first day we had 5 people that walked through the door, 5 people. And I sat with the franchise business manager at that point and said, "Martin, what have I done? Are you sure? Is this going to be okay?" And, O2 at the time, I think they saw me as someone to take under their wing. And, next day, we ordered a load of banners and really started thinking about marketing, and you have to quickly react, right? And, and then within the next month, actually the iPhone 3G launched, the iPhone 3GS, and that really kickstarted the business. O2 at that point, they sent us a load of stock. We had more stock than any other store in the country. And if you remember back in the day, when the iPhone had launched, you had queues around the doors and all that kind of stuff. So I think listening to your franchisor, working with your franchisor, they're there to support your business. And even from the early days, even the softer things, right? I was quite, vulnerable at that point, right? Because you started business, you put all your money in, you're 22 years old, you don't have that support framework. And, but then look, you quickly learn, and it's a journey, right? You're the start of your business journey, right? And you're going to learn all the time, every single day, every week, every month. I'm still learning, right?
And obviously you grew that to multiple chains as well. And what was it that made you decide once you had one that was doing well? What was the trigger to be like, yes, I'm ready to do another one? How did you make that decision?
There's the analytical answer. Firstly, so you gotta know your numbers, yeah. And even if you're not a numbers person, know your numbers. You gotta know your numbers in the franchising business, yeah. You gotta really understand your P&L, your stock. Like, you know, in a mobile phone business, each phone is worth £400-500, yeah. So if you lose one phone, that's pretty much your profit gone for the day. So you really got to control your entire P&L, yeah. So that's the first thing. I could see the numbers. I sat down with my accountant. I could see the slipstream. I could see it was profitable. Right, let's go for the next one. Let's take another risk for another store. This first store was in a retail park. So I was like, okay, let's do the next one in a retail park. Let's get another store which has the same principles. And then we can do that one. And then maybe third one, I can take a risk and go to a high street because I've not done that one before. So it was basically looking at those things. The other bit is the feeling. So you start to develop as you get into more and more into business, you start to develop a feeling, the sixth sense, right? You get a feeling of this is working, right? And so there's that kind of left side brain, right side brain. And then you just got to go for it, right? You got to, like, once you've got that slipstream, you got to drive it.
What advice would you give them if somebody who's trying to make a decision to get into franchising in the first place?
Yeah, so I've kind of gone full circle. So I actually see things now from a slightly different point of view because I have my own franchisor business. And I've been able to develop a few other businesses along the journey. And in the early days, I probably didn't respect the passion that goes into building the brand and the operations manual and all those types of things. Good franchisors embrace that. They embrace a culture of you can fail, you can take risks. And we had that with O2. They wanted us to grow. They wanted us to spread the iPhone left, right, and center. They wanted us to get it into the communities. I really do think that it's really important that you respect the brand. You respect the operations manual. That's there for a reason. It's tried and tested. And look, of course, you're going to have your ideas, feeding them through the right channels. All those types of things are really important. And a franchisor wants to learn from you, right? Like, there's different types of franchising businesses. There's franchising businesses which are fully franchised, and there's ones that are more hybrid. They want to learn from you, right? So it's about having a really open dialogue with your franchisor. They're there, again, I'll say it, they're there to help you build your business, right? They're there. If you win, a good franchisor, if you win, they win.
Can you explain to us as well, as you mentioned there, that you also have franchisor now? So what is that franchisor business and what made you decide to go for that model for that business?
So I told you guys I'm an optometrist. So we have 14 stores in London under a brand called Eye Emporium. So it's basically an optician's brand. It's an independent optician's brand. So we're kind of trying to be the alternative to Specsavers or Vision Express on the high street, providing independent service, better quality eyewear than Specsavers. No disrespect when you want to go to Specsavers. But yeah, we've actually got 2 franchisees. So we've been in beta for the last year or so. We've had 2 franchisees, and I knew from my franchising experience, there's nothing like a franchisee that's got that hunger, right? That needs to make this work, right? Because this is their business. If they don't drive it, if they don't smash it, they ain't gonna eat, right? So that's what we got in our first 2 franchisees. We got people that are really hungry. They knew their industry, they knew their business, of course. And we've proven the model. The franchise business now, both franchisees do double what a normal company-owned store does. Now, in a profitability point of view, and this is always a challenge for a franchise business, probably if I run it myself, I'd probably make a bit more money, but then I'm taking all the risk, right? So for me, in my business, it's about getting that hybrid model. Yeah, so certain stores I may want to do for my own brand because I need to protect the brand, build the brand experience. So if I'm doing high profile locations, I might not want to do it with a franchisee. But, my growth strategy is through franchising.
And when you're thinking about franchisees as well, right? So you said the hunger and the growth. What else are you looking for in them? Like, what makes a good franchisee for a franchisor to work with?
I think what's really important, and it's the same principle for business in general. And when I'm investing in businesses, I look for a few things. A founder who can sell, a business person that can sell. You gotta sell. And sell is not something you're born with. You can learn to sell. Yeah, everyone can learn to sell, right? It's about practice. It's about getting out there and making it happen. So number one, can you sell? Can you drive it from the front? It's not about you just employing the manager, you being backseat. You got to be at the front of that business. You got to be driving things through. So number one, selling. Number 2, commercials. You got to know your numbers. Yeah, you got to know that P&L inside out. I can't manage their P&L, right? if they're not looking after their stock and they're not managing their costs and all that kind of stuff, they're going to end up in trouble, right? So managing your costs is really, really important. Number 3, honesty and integrity are really important as well. So softer things, much harder to test and figure out and all that kind of stuff. And it comes over time, right? But really getting to know the franchisee, really getting to know them, understanding their values, understanding their drivers. Ultimately you're building a partnership, right? It's not just a one-hit wonder, make money for a couple of years. You want to build a business that's growing over 10 years and then eventually exit, or 5 years, or whatever that period is, right? You want to build not just profit, but enterprise value, right? You want to be able to exit that business. So, to do that, we have to work in partnership. And so that's that honesty, integrity piece.
Yeah, and I think that's with any business, right? It's whenever you're hiring for any business, it's honesty and integrity. But like I said, it's so hard to test. And when you're looking at people in that sense, right? So what's your process for picking a franchisee? Do you have to interview them? What's that? How does that look like?
Like even when I'm interviewing employees, I will lead from the front. So it's going to be first interview with myself, make sure that I get that real feel of the individual. So there it's more of a personality thing. Are they exciting me? Are they someone that, I can see being someone who's going to drive this business? I don't have the brand of a Specsavers or a Vision Express or someone like that. I'm going to build it, right? But at the moment, it's about them really being entrepreneurial in their community. So I'm looking for a certain personality type, right? Second, I'm going to make sure that I put them through analytical tests, test them from that perspective, see them in an environment, get them into a workspace, spending a day, getting them to feel like what it's like, right? And seeing them in action as well. There's no substitute to seeing someone in action. Really easy for someone to be in an interview and perform, right? And sell themselves, right? But it's when you actually get to know them and you see them in their real state, that's when you can tell what they're going to be like, not only for your brand, but for the team, right? You're not recruiting a franchisee, you're recruiting the people in the business that are going to serve your customers for the brand you're going to build. So, there's the classic kind of hire slowly process, right? And that's the same approach that, we're taking with franchisees, getting to know them, and then, with us, it's about optometry, it's about healthcare. So we're looking for optometrists, we're looking for people with a healthcare background, those kinds of skills as well.
So I know Asad quite well, and I know that in a previous business of yours, you lost millions, right? As you're building that up, and you had the Superman kind of effect of, you did so well at O2, you thought that would then follow on to everything else you did as well. So what I'd be interested in knowing as well, was the beta program. Obviously, it wouldn't be perfect at the beginning. What mistakes did you find in that program you could then now fix for everybody else you're on board?
100%. And it's really interesting you asked this because, and it comes back to this respect for brand building. So O2 did really well. There's a couple of other O2 franchisees here actually at the back there. And, we were great at selling. We were great at getting stuff out there. It's very different for you to create a brand, right? Brand building is a very different skill. And the business that I was talking about, I actually lost money because I thought I knew everything. I had those godlike tendencies, you get when you get success at early age. And I thought I could brand build and everything was easy. And I realized that at that point I had to learn. And so through that business, I learned how to brand build. Off the back of that, we've gone into other businesses. We've got now a portfolio of businesses. Everything's a journey, right? And that's the thing, right? With franchising as well, there's no guarantee of success, right? At the end of the day, you're taking a risk, right? It's for you to make it happen, right? And you to make sure that you do your research, your due diligence, you're really thorough. Of course, there's an emotional element of this. Like you have to want to go into that business, but make sure you take that analytical, commercial viewpoint on the franchise business. Really study the numbers. Really make sure that you spend time in a franchise business. Really make sure that you've lived and breathed that business. When you walk in, it's a calculated risk. You're 90% sure. If you're not 90% sure, then there's a problem, in my view.
Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying this episode so far. The Bay HQ has a podcast, but we're so much more than that. So if you want to find out about all of the events we've got going on, all the different ways you can meet each other, as well as resources to help you build the business of your dreams, then check out the link in the show notes, sign up to our newsletter, where you get a weekly roundup, which we like to call the Bay Letter, that will keep you in the loop. If you want to help us out, the best thing you can possibly do is sign up to our newsletter and share it with your friends. So that's enough from me now. Let's get back to the show. Yeah, and now, like, what's the plans for the future now, right? So you've done your beta, you know that you've proven the model. Where do you want to now get to? What's the growth plan?
So we've got Salim actually in the background there. He's the founder of the business. Salim, give us a wave. So Salim is actually going to be driving. So he's the founder of iEmporium. We backed him and what he's doing for the business. It's growth. It's about growth, and it's about building like an amazing brand, right? An independent brand that, you know, is the best alternative, not even the best alternative, the number one choice for you when you search on Google for opticians in your local area. And we want to spread this. And for us, the target is London and Southeast. That's the key priority for us. Like, we want to own it in this area. We know the area. We're London boys, you know, like, this is our playground. And then we'll see, right?
And looking at that, so how are you going to scale that model? Because like you said, it's so hard to find the right people. And you said about hiring slowly. How do you then, if you want to grow fast, how do you grow fast while also hiring slow?
So I have the beauty of a fantastic founder who's very well networked in the optometry space. So I think network is your network, right? So network. Yeah. I think that is key. Getting to know people before you know them, right, is really important. Building that network is going to be really important for us. We really understand that person before we meet them. And then handpicking them. You know, what's key is, like, you know, we need to really go for those individuals. You know, it's about the quality, not the quantity at this stage. We know that once we hit that tipping point, it will scale. Yeah. And it's, you know, it's not pushing that, right? Slipstream will happen. You don't force it, right? So something I've learned over the years. Once you hit that slipstream, you know it's there, then you go. Don't ever force that thing.
What are some of the problems you think that might be coming up in the future, and how are you trying to make sure or mitigate it and prepare for those problems?
For us now, it's those choices that where we go as a brand, what locations we go into, whether they're the right fit for us. And we're just using lots of data. So data is king, right? So what does the data of the existing business tell us? Where do we want to go? What locations? Who's the right fit franchisee? You know, lead with data, use the data. Of course, you need to go there, and as a retailer, I need to be able to feel the energy, walk the high street, go into the stores, you know, get a feel of our competitors, all those types of things. Yeah, like, it's, I think, you know, over the years, you do get this kind of sixth sense. But, you know, the final thing I say is build your network around. You've got to talk to people on that journey. Yeah. So make friends with fellow franchisees on that journey. Make friends with people outside franchising, right? Build your network there. Share your problems. You know, it's so important. The mistakes I made in the past was because I was like, no, I'll sort it out. I'll get it done. No, you need to share with other people. You need to share your problems so that you can then learn from other people's experience.
Yeah, and I think it's a big important part about today, right? Is that people listening in the audience can see your mistakes and what you've done wrong, and not just copy that, obviously, because then it's very easy, like you said, for people to think, oh, here's somebody got successful, without seeing all the different things along the way that maybe didn't work out. People who are watching this as well, you might notice that he's got quite a different set of glasses to what you might have seen other people, right? How much of that is also the design thinking filtering into the franchise as well, and having that different lens of looking at things?
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, with store design and store experiences, you know, there's a real art to it, whether it's like the lighting and how lights can fall onto objects and make them look different. Whether it's how, you know, with our products, you know, their glasses are, you know, really small items, right? And so you have to really make them stand out. How do you enhance your customer experience using design, right? So design is a really powerful tool if used properly, right? But also you have to be really smart with design. Design can be a super expensive process. So, yeah, like, you know, I could spend ages talking about this, but yeah, design is really important. Not just designing the store, the accessories, the whole thing. You know, it's got to be, you know, that's what people want these days. They want an experience.
Is there anything that you maybe undervalued at the start of this journey when you started the first, like, beta testing, but then through that beta testing you realized it's actually really important to onboard other franchisees in the future to make sure that they're set up for success?
I think one of the big things is creating the support framework for the franchisee, right? So making sure that they are listened to, making sure that, you know, their ideas, you know, ultimately they are like your employees in a way, right? Like they're you know, they are people that need to feel that energy and that love from you, right? And that is something that, you know, maybe in the early days, you know, like, you know, we need to make sure that we really create that support framework. And it's hard, right? When you're starting a new franchise brand, it's difficult to invest in this and invest in that, and, you know, And it's about taking the franchisee on that journey. And what's really important, I think, is for franchisees is making them feel like they're part of your business and part of that growth. So that's, I'd say, is definitely one of the learnings.
So I'm going to ask the audience for questions in a second. So if you've got an idea, start getting ready to do that as well. So final question from me is going to be, like, what's the thing that you enjoy the most about being both a franchisee and a franchisor?
The people is the thing that, is, forget the brand, forget all the exciting stuff, the cool glasses, whatever. It's about people at the end of the day, right? Like, you're managing franchisees, inspiring them, getting them motivated. Then you're managing through them into the teams in store. It's about leadership. It's about, excitement, creating the energy, creating the buzz. That's the most important thing, and, that's what I love. Right. And look, then if you manage that, everything else becomes easy. Yeah. The numbers become easy. The marketing becomes easy. Everything becomes easy because you're able to inspire other people, right? To, do what, you don't need to do everything as a business owner, right? You need to be able to delegate and let them drive it.
So thanks so much for that. And some of you might have noticed, like, obviously, Asad is a very good speaker and he actually won Dragon's Den with one of his other companies as well. So it gives you an idea of the kind of charisma and how also then helps you to inspire people in the future as well. Do you have any questions from the audience? The audience member asked about what Asad's personal brand is well and how that helps him in terms of inspiring his franchisees and creating that relationship.
It's so interesting you asked that question because so my Instagram I do for actually two reasons. Okay, number one, for my son and my daughter, just to see it and like follow my journey and stuff. Number two, for my team. Yeah, that is what my Instagram is for. Yeah, for them to see what I'm doing every single day. They see my energy, they see what I'm doing, and that inspires them. Yeah, LinkedIn's slightly different. That has a slightly different purpose, but 100% like personal brand and using social media channels. And if your, conversation you should be having with franchisors here is, are you embracing franchisees to be able to use their personal social media brands locally? Because, man, you can build like businesses locally like crazy. My first business, the O2 stuff, I built the first store through networks. And now we have the power of Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. So yeah, look, it's so important for you to create that culture because, when you're not there, when you're going from one site to 5 sites to 10 sites, that's what you want to do, right? How do you be everywhere? You can't, right? And that culture needs to be effervescent through the company, right? And ultimately, you need to be able to, at some day, remove yourself from the business, bring the MD in or bring the operations director in or whatever it is, right? But that culture still needs to be there. So I highly recommend everyone, build on social, even from the beginning. Share the journey, share the story. Ultimately, your customers will get attracted to it as well. So yeah.
The audience member there asked about how can you outsource some of the design building into her personal brand, because it's very difficult, obviously, for many business owners to do that at the same time as building the company and managing their staff.
Is that just like selling, you can't outsource that customer journey piece, and you can't outsource that design inspo. Like, look, you can definitely give a brief to a design agency and go, look, this is the problem I'm trying to solve, right? But ultimately, you've got to control the experience. Problem with design agencies, and no disrespect to design agencies, is if you give them too wide a canvas to work with, they don't know where to go, right? So you have to be really tight with that brief. What is it that you're trying to solve, right? So for me personally, me and Salim love the design piece. We'll get intimately involved in every step, but the design agency is driving that process as well. They're project managing it. Like personally, through experience, we've learned over the years to know what we want. So it depends where you are on that journey as well, right? And there are different types of agencies for different things as well. So I would say there's also a best fit. There's not one best fit agency. So the agency that might be good for you on day one, which gives you the ideas, is probably not the best one for you on that journey when you just got to execute again and again and again, right? So yeah, happy to have a chat after as well.
So he asked there, did you have any major losses and what caused that?
I had several along the journey. And what I've become better at is minimizing the losses. The first one was a really big one. I lost a few £1 million. And it was putting good money into bad, classic stuff, just kept on putting money in, thinking it's going to turn around, never did, right? And then at some point, my mentor at the time says, you gotta kill this, otherwise it's gonna kill you, right? And so yeah, like, you know, and there's lots of reasons, lots of things that were not quite right, product market fit, you know, imbalance of stock, and, you know, needing to buy too much stock to make the business work, and lots of like warning signs. But when you're in the heat of the battle, sometimes you're not, you know, seeing those, and you need that outside perspective, right? And again, it comes back to like creating that support framework around you. Now those losses are minimized. So I've had loads of like mini failures on that journey, probably like, you know, loads. But like now I've learned like when to cut it, right? And how to structure it. And, you know, and it's a constant process. You just got to make sure those losses are minimized. And, you know, that, you know, making sure they're minimized is also how you legally structure your business, making sure you know, have the, you know, create a limited company, make sure that, you know, you're getting all your invoices, you're, you know, putting all the kind of regulatory things in place, the frameworks in place, so that if you do need to fold the business, you know, you've got that framework in place that it doesn't kill you, right? Like PGs, don't take PGs. Like, you know, one of the things I, you know, took a PG once and I never will do it again, right? Don't personally take liability. That's the beauty of this country. There's something called limited liability, right? You don't need to personally take risk, right? This country encourages entrepreneurship, right? Of course, it's about making sure that, you know, your business idea, you set it up to succeed, right? But, you know, you got to make sure you don't personally take risks, because it's a journey you're going to go on in entrepreneurship, right?
So thanks so much for that question, and thanks so much, Asad. I think we've run out of time now, so we're going to have to stop there. But if anybody wants to ask any more questions, I think he's not jetting off too quickly. So come up on stage and ask him questions as well. So thanks again so much, everybody, and thanks, Asad, for coming on. Yeah,